So I want to talk about the evolution of the universe, which I fundamentally believe that infinity is there is no beginning of time. If you use time as a measurement, all it is, time does not technically exist. Matter or inertia exists. So if you take into time as a measurement and apply infinity to it, and you apply a cosmological constant of solidity across an infinite expanse, eventually over time you will have, because you have different periodic tables. So as matter factors off into over the eons and so on and so forth over the forever, um, it becomes different substances and of sorts. The I think that suns, for example, I think that for one, I think you could ignite something and spark it. Also for two, if you take in the density, when you compact something, it creates a friction, a pressure. And if it, you know, if you have, you know, you got nebulas, for example, and they say they see stars coming out of those. But I think the thing is that if you had, electromagnetic nuclearized, matters, and it floated into a nebula, sparked up and flew out because it's flying like shit now. But you know what I mean? It's like a metaphor, like an idiom, whatever. You know what I mean? It's like flying shit, flinging shit, shit's flying. but that's the sun is flying. You spark something up like a hammer on a gunpowder. You shoot a bullet out. It's kind of the same concept a little bit. You do like gunpowder, and the sun is the spark is it interacts and all of that. Is, whatever. It's actually I don't know that metaphor. That works a little bit. But if you have the breakdown of solidity over infinity, then you have different periodically tableisms. So like carbon, H2O, whatever, the elements and all that shit, they were things before. Excuse the quote unquote accent. I really do not, I really feel to express and emotions and how my situation of mind into inertia. I don't like sounding like, I've always thought it was weird when someone goes, well, hi, my name is, and I'm like, what the fuck? I think it's weird to me, like, very flatlined, but it's weird also because you got up north in New York and got a little bit of a northern accent and weird shit, and then it's all just weird, but southern accents and but there's not really, it's odd. And they do say that, let me get a little bit off track, but they do say that accents are learned. So you obtain an accent through association to the environment and the sound provided. But if that's so, then you're technically speaking, I'm not even genetically American. It's a melting pot. But if all I'm being is what I hear, then I'm not technically being my genetic expression anyways. It's epigenetic. Epigenetic means that if I had an influence that turned on a genomic effect of matter, inertia, of association, then it would it would do as it would such. So if I'm expressing myself, and I'm just saying for the accent part, because for some reason, mental health is like, you speak in an accent, he thinks he's British, or he thinks, and I'm like, no, what the fuck are you even talking about? Like, first of all, countries don't technically fucking exist to a time frame relative to what actually makes sense. You think that, like, a country has always, no, that's a new fucking name, if fucking anything. And so, like, for whatever, but, So, but anyways, more to a point. And of course, I can speak in a straight English American, flat accent. That's what I'm doing right now. Technically, it's not really a problem, but I don't feel that way. And I also remember when I was like a little kid, like, I mean, not even, probably kindergarten. Like, I mean, sometimes I would have a local accent, and it was kind of, what I would say, Eastern, not Western, like here, like in America. Um, but it would like come and go, but never mind. The weird thing is when I was alone a lot of the time, it was just expressing. I didn't really talk to anybody. I was never social. Never mind. Fuck off, brain. Anyways, sorry about the accent. If that's what I fucking call it. I accent my perpetuation of vocalage because I feel some type of fucking way. So, if you take Earth as it is now, backtrack it however many millions to whatever, I mean, there is, at a time, it was a cold, dense state of my theory, hypothesis that really makes sense to a degree, a cold star. It shrunk, it came down, it cooled off, it got away from everything, and then it floated around and through the gravitational pulls and relativities, and you have you as there is say that there's a gigantic black hole or a gravitational anomaly that's a billion billion to the power of whatever mileages or whatever is away, and that's pulling the ether of space in a certain area, and dark matter is a cosmological thing that science identifies. Like we're seeing gravitational anomalies, but we can't identify the matter itself. And anyway, and also going to another point on that, if you want to go farther out and around the 360-degree pie around and shit. But if you look at like background radiation images, where they say like the background radiation of the Big Bang, I really think it's just cross sections of stars and heat signatures as you're looking through, cross sectioning out and obscuring the view of what's behind it. Eventually, you're gonna reach a distance in which there's too much intersecting to see past. Let's see. But so the sun was the Earth, as it's has been pulled around for relativities and stuff. It's being counteracted in certain areas, which you get ellipses and things of the sort. And I don't really know about it. We say ellipse because it's not a perfect circle, but also I don't think ellipses are technically correct, because if you think about Earth, it also is not a perfect sphere. So you have different variations of which things are actually tumbling around and shit when get pulled and bounced around or whatever. And its sizes and stuff are different too. But anyways, there's more there that I don't fucking as you get pulled into the sun's gravity, inevitably the Earth is going to melt its frozen, So, and also, this is actually an idea that came to me almost 10 years ago. I think I was on my way to Phoenix. I was homeless in Wilmington, and I was kind of getting ran around. So I needed something. My friend was like, yeah, I'll take you on my truck, and you'll be my passenger, or whatever. And the idea came to me that the magma core in the center, electromagnetism of the Earth itself, and all of that is actually still the hot part of the star, and then the outer layer is frozen. So you got tectonic plates like shifting, mantles and all that. But as you get closer to the sun, it melts, and it's also being pulled in opposite directions, ellipses and stuff too, by other gravitational forces. I mean, if you have an infinite expanse of matterism, then you have infinite relativity association to associate with, and for those of you that maybe were going to fly into the sun, you're not flying into the fucking sun. By the way, That motherfucker is big as fucking shit. You're nowhere near as close to it as you could ever think. Try to conceptualize how close you are to that motherfucker. You're never gonna be. That thing has been around for so fucking long that it still hasn't, burnt off yet. Like, what the fuck? I'm still fucking here. You think you're crazy, but it's billions and billions to numeral power reaches away and big enough to still be seen and have influence. So, what I was getting to was that as evolution of species comes into play, so you developed over eons into the ability through materism to create a single cellular organism, and that developed into multicellular and so on and so forth, and you develop to what you are, to whatever time frame that you are, and so on and so forth. But what I was thinking really brought me to the point that it was just that was I don't think that dinosaur fossils are actually like stones, as they say. Carbon dating for one thing is bullshit. You want to talk about half-lives, and carbon was something before it was carbon. The elemental table, the periodic table changes over the eons, over the infinity. You have, if you take, I think it's like, if you do something and then you burn it off at the height of, it bounces around and becomes helium. It's a scientific thing. You've got H2O, you've got hydrogen, 2 oxygen molecules, so on and so forth. But as life was able to perpetuate, I think that we fucked some species up to be where we are for sure. And I think those are still technically bones. I really do. And you want to talk about intelligence. A T-Rex doesn't really have the capability to, wield intelligence with its body. It has teeth, an extra large skull, a bite force, and muscular legs, and a tail. It's reptilian in physique. I'm not denying hair, because the hair you can't technically, there's no, that dissipates. I used to have a dinosaur, but velociraptors, there's been species that have hair instead of, it's all, whatever. But, I think that at one point, you get like an 8-foot motherfucker still today. You want to scale it up to 15 or 20 feet, whatever. Hair, I don't give a shit. Like, testosterone, fuck you. I got a bum. I'll pick up a stick, shank you, T-Rex. But, I think that when actually if you learn to come together and you're standing upright and you have advantages. I don't, and I'm also, I really think that it's important to recognize that all life does matter. When you're intelligent enough to realize that there is the ability to grow and help develop other species, like a raccoon, for example, or furthermore otherwise. We see them as I don't want to use the word environment, but that is a technicality that is used. Volume, I like that one because it's like a volume is more love backwards. But anyways, let me see. But yeah, they are just as important and just as capable of having a full life. And all it takes is to encourage, like, hey, like, I see you, I understand, you are cold, you are hungry, you do have some pains and aches, and you're just the other day, the reason I thought about the raccoon was because when I was I left a raccoon that came up to me, and I talked to it, and I did give it a little, like, after, just because I'm like, I don't really know what's going on right now with you, like, so, but I talked to it first, and, when it was coming closer, like, stay back, I just said, stay back with it, and then, but I was still, talking to it, but I left him, a little cup of milk. I left him, took the sweater I had on me and put that inside of a bag. I don't know if it did anything with it, but I had originally thrown pieces of Pop Tarts out. Um, then maybe like half an hour later, I heard him come up and he started approaching me, and I couldn't really see where he was at first, and it was dark. Um, it made me sad because it's like you got a dog, you got a cat, but it's like they're just as well deserved. And if you want to talk about feeding wildlife, I mean, you could literally take a stem cell culture out of a cow. You don't have to kill the cow, and you could grow you could grow an egg from an egg, but but anyways, um but just if I wanted to donate blood, go get me a donut for doing it, and then use that for the nutrients for the cow's stem cell. Um, and then you can feed the raccoon, just as well. And let's see. Anyways, more to a point. I got sidetracked with my empathy. Um, I think that as an evolutionary, this is my original thought. The sun thing came a little. I was like, oh shit, well that too. As the water melts, and keep in mind that they do the ice will, the carbon monoxide from the cars. So there is carbon dioxide and there's carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is a thinner compared to carbon dioxide. Di means two, mono means one. The oceans, by the way, the coral reefs are failing. They're getting increased. It's almost like a filter. And yeah, I just anyways, all that could be. I mean, you could literally put carbon filtration plants within the ground itself and suck it and spew it back out as whatever the fuck you wanted. But um, let's see. Um, I think that wait, oh shit, that's a good one. I don't know about that one. And like also you've got you also have water underneath you. I mean that's been seeping in for sure. And they talk about like desalination plants. It's not really as logical. They try to use like groundwater and fresh water, but because of brackish water, and it's like, well, like you don't even really have to like there is other uses for storage, and I mean it's all applicabilities. And when you get on Google, and I haven't looked it up in a while, but this was a couple of years ago, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like I could literally create hydrogen, and then I could have actually I think hydrogen turns into helium. I think that was the one. But and then you don't need that. Let me just shut up because I don't want anybody fucking shit up and making me some stupid fucking fuck off. I my great granddad he was with the Manhattan Project. He was the engineer, but um, I didn't learn that until later on in life. But um, the any fucking ways. Uh, what was I getting to? The melting of okay, so oh yeah, so the ice wall is floating melting, but really got to think that's a dome on both poles. So that's an ice dome, and I don't know what the ground is technically, but I think that for an extent it's a frozen. I want to say H2O. And now I'm thinking like if that shit falls off into the ocean, then there might be some type of issue with the materialism that is there, because if it was a sun, and it compacted, but Also, oh yeah, the fossil thing also has a point too. I don't believe that fossils, because if you dig down deep enough, there's shells and layers, but you can find dinosaur fossils closer to the surface. Um, Let me see. And I think the thing is that everything was once frozen all around, and um, I really just I think that if everything was water-esque and there's groundwater in earth, like on the ground, and that's fresh water. I think it's filtered through natural processes, like dirt and all that. It just doesn't really have this salt or whatever gets sucked into. But anyways, it's hypothetical theory or whatever. Hypothesis, thetical. Let's see. Anyways, let me give now the accent's making me annoyed. Um, let's see. I don't know. I think that we get lost with the mathematical terminology. I think we are like, oh, the universe had a beginning, or there's no such thing as infinite matter. And really the thing is, you don't have enough. Life doesn't have to exist for there to be existence. And the amount of time that it took life to exist, for whatever terminology to associate what you call life existing, it took a long time to develop the right conditions in which something was able to metamorph, to morphize into what is going on now. Um, let's see. The fuck? My back is killing me. Ugh, out of my head. Let's see. Oh, electromagnetism, right? So sun has it's a nuclear reactor instead of radiation. The Earth has electromagnetic pulsage. Actually, the electromagnetic was it Hertz is HZ. I think it's Hertz, HERTZ. Um, is we're symbiotic with where we come from. I could also get into building spaceships and stuff too. Oh, hold on. You ain't got me an asshole. I know the accent's probably weirding people out on this fucking shit. I'm being a little bit of an asshole, but it's me, and I got. Don't worry about that. That's gonna come off anyways. It's not even anything. I'll scrape it off. It's clean up. There's me. Anyways. Ow, fucking hell. I can't see. I'm sat down too far. Let me think. Fucking shit. Let's see. Electromagnetic forces. So I think that there is, if matter is infinite in all expanses, and so on and so forth, throughout the eons and infinities of periodic tableisms and indexes of the shit and whatever, then there's no such thing as nothing. Nothing does not exist. Nothing cannot be a thing. It doesn't make any sense at all. It makes none. Nothing doesn't exist, and that makes no sense at all. um, there are photons, there's quantum, and all is never mind. But size is relative. Um, there is, I think another thing is sense too. Just like taste or hot and cold. There are variabilities in which things can be alternately perceived. Like scientists with quantum theory, like spooky action at a distance, which is what Einstein talked about. um, it's um, it's hard to if I look at something in within the environment that I've been genetically encompassed to grow through throughout the evolutionary expanse, I can identify, say the square, for example, the shape of it is identifiable to mind, but that's because that is what has been presented. So if you want to talk about hot and cold, what can I not sense other than that temperature of up and down, if you know what I mean? And there's other areas of space with different, everything. So, um, but electromagnetism and being able to understand the concept of the interwovenness of the universe itself. It's a cosmological constant, and I think that everything is. Um, I think that we try really hard to make sense of things, and it's you have to have you know the right inertia forward of materism, matter inertia forward of mind sight to be able to see what you can see. And if I want to get into spaceships, if you could match the relative electromagnetic pulsage, and really, I mean, you talk about gravity, I guess the floor is, a vacuum, and it could be polarized around, whatever, and so that it's, even spread for to walk through and work out, and, then apply the right electromagnetic force to basically uh, what's the fucking word? Um, I don't want to use that one. It's a different one. Come on. Anyways, um, the and with space travel, if you could connect the 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 ship to the etherism, whatever index it is, and it's tricky because it's like, what the fuck is actually going on around the relativity associations. And I don't think we went to the moon when at the time that they said that we did and stuff. Like, I mean, we haven't gotten to Mars yet, and but I think it's because we've been doing it with the wrong theology in mind. I mean, you can, if you suck in space and have the ability to polarize it, and I don't want to get into all the details, but um, you could technically I never mind. I kind of beside the point. But I think that everything is convoluted. I think that, and I say that, and I don't really like the English language as much as I should, I guess, because it's never hasn't been kind to my autism, but um, social disorder, never mind myself. Um, I think that life, the purpose of it is to always be there for what is right. And it is not a question. That is not something up for debate. There is always the thing that is ultimately right. And that is to be kind, to be there. And they really just need to make that shit underground. I swear to shit. I don't see the point. Like, stopping traffic. I got places to be for some important reason, maybe too. And you're running I got pulled over. I make no fucking sense at all. Any fucking ways. Um, so I don't know. I'm gonna get too deep into this fucking shit.